What is going on, everybody? Welcome back to Tavern Talk. I'm Philip, as always, and joining me once again is Mr. Keith Garlington.
Hello. It's good to be back. It's been a little bit, but I always love coming on, and it's always fun talking movies.
I think it's been, probably about a year or so.
I can't remember. It's been several times.
Don't look up.
The McCabe.
Yes, that's right.
Yeah. So about a year ago.
Yeah. Awards season gets into full swing, and we're like, let's go see some movies.
That's right.
Which is appropriate for the movie we're talking about today, as far as award season contenders go, because this is maybe the most award season movie you could ever kind of put together. That will probably not get much awards love at all.
I can't imagine it.
Yeah.
No, but you're right. It does fit a certain model.
Yes.
Of what you would think an awards movie might be.
Exactly.
Quote unquote prestige movie. The problem is it looks like it's kind of trying to be a prestige movie. I'm not saying it is. It kind of looks like it's reaching for that.
It does. It very much has all the pieces to it, not just like the people behind the scenes, the people in front of the camera, but also just the concept of the movie in general. This week we're talking about Empire of Light. Full disclosure, this is not necessarily an initial reaction. We saw this a couple weeks ago. And also, I kind of want to also frame this as we have yet to see The Fabelmans, which Empire of Light, Fabelmans, Armageddon Time, all these this year kind of fall into this genre of late that has kind of come, that has grown lately.
Back.
Yes,
I think
exactly.
I think Roma pretty much kickstarted it. Seems like. Branagh did it last year with Belfast, and now this year we've just got a wave of them. And it coming out, Bordeaux is something like that, except from a little more Iñárritu's more surrealist point of view. So a lot of directors are doing it right now. Yeah,
Keith has seen Bordeaux. I have not, but he's made me anxious to see it now.
Yeah.
Maybe at the end we'll have to rank the self-reflective autobiography
from auteurs.
This is Empire of Light. It's from director Sam Mendes, Oscar winner Sam Mendes. His last film was 1917, which this is an interesting follow-up to 1917. When you
Polar opposites.
Not
even remotely close, which is, in a way, for a filmmaker, it's a good thing.
Yes, for sure.
Show that, and if you look at his filmography, there's a lot of variety, a lot of diversity in types of movies he makes. So he definitely has that in him. The problem is, in this specific movie itself, there's a diversity of movies being made. It's almost like there are 4 or 5 movies crammed into one. And I don't know if you really want to just kickstart it or get right into it. But one of the issues I had with it was that it really does seem like you have Sam Mendes, the screenwriter, versus Sam Mendes, the director. Screenwriter Mendes is just going all over the place. I mean, he's addressing all sorts of issues, tackling all sorts of topics, looking in all sorts of directions and going this way and that way. Sam Mendes, the director, just can't wrangle it all together. He can't really seem to keep it all going. And I'm sure we'll talk about it, but there's a lot of really good pieces and a lot of really good parts in this. And there's one of my favorite scenes of the year is in this, and it's probably one that you probably know what I'm talking about. It's just amazing. Yeah. Some of the cinematography from Roger Deakins is just incredible. But at some point, it's just overwhelming, and because he simply tries to tackle too much.
Right, yeah. I mean, like you mentioned, Deakins does the cinematography here. You've got Olivia Colman in the lead role, who
great piece there.
She's an Oscar favorite as of late. You've got Trent Reznor and Atticus Ross doing the score for this. You kind of your up-and-comer in Michael Ward. You've got Toby Jones and Colin Firth in supporting roles.
Rock solid, always, those two guys.
Yeah, it is. And then, of course, the story that we're kind of talking about, and it is notable, Mendes usually collaborates on his screenplays, but this is the first one he has written by himself, gets sole credit on this. And you can kind of, like you were saying, see some of those first-time solo screenwriter pains in this, because he's definitely got a lot on his mind. It kind of feels like this was, we talked about how it's so different from 1917, and it was like COVID happened in between there. It kind of feels like this is, obviously during COVID, a lot of people got reflective. It kind of feels like a product of that in terms of missing movie houses or missing the theaters, because a lot of this is set in a theater, which, like you said as well, I liked a lot of the elements here. I just wish, instead of trying to tackle so many different subjects, or even like kind of deal with different things in this. He had kind of, because the central idea does seem to be like the magic of the movies kind of thing, like,
right.
And it does seem like he's giving Olivia Colman and Michael Ward's characters these hardships that they have to deal with in order to kind of like find an escape in the movies, but that through line just never, like, he loses focus on that pretty early on,
because he just goes wandering, and it seems like and again, I think it's all well intended.
Yes,
he's got good intentions here. But think about it. I mean, it very much is an ode to the movie theater experience.
Right.
It's very much, and I cringe when I hear this, a love letter to cinema.
There it is.
But it's also, I mean, it deals with race relations. It tries to talk about white supremacy. It tries to get into, complex relationships, especially with people of different races, wider age groups.
Right.
It gets into mental health, mental illness. Then it even gets into workplace sexual harassment and workplace sexual abuse. I mean, it just goes everywhere.
You named more there than I even thought originally.
Well, but you're right. Yeah. And again, there's a couple of good movies in there.
Right.
But when you're trying to put it all together and like I said, just sort of streamline it, move it in one sort of cohesive direction.
Yeah, it's kind of a bummer because there is so much of it that I did enjoy and became invested in, like the relationship between Coleman and Ward's character. Yeah, they are. She's an older lady, and she is the one kind of dealing with depression and what would you
loneliness? She's just having you just really get this. And I don't want to give too much away, but they do sort of deal a little bit with that. At first, it's not real clear, but she's clearly going through some challenges.
Yeah.
I'll just leave it at that. But
yeah, and she's dealing with that, but then she meets Ward's character, and that loneliness starts to get cured. But he's very, he's a lot younger than her.
He's really lively and he's sort of vibrant, and she sort of kind of feeds on that.
Right.
And she is attracted to that.
And you can kind of see the end coming as soon as it starts, because it's just something that's not gonna last. It's not sustainable as far as. And then Ward's character is a young black man in the 80s. Is it London or is it?
Yeah, in England.
It's England somewhere.
It's like a coastal town.
Yeah. And so you've got like some racial tensions that are still high, and aside, those things kind of felt the most tacked on to me, like exploring the relationship between like the interracial relationship and then the unconventional as far as the ages go. Like that stuff was I felt like he could have correlated that with like the escape from within the movie theater and everything. But then he just tacks that other stuff on. Yeah. And it's like we're going like you said, we're going in so many different directions, and it just, which ultimately makes none of it land. Emotionally,
right? Because he just has too much on his plate,
right?
And in his defense, I guess in defense of Mendes, the director, when you're handed that much, and you have to somehow weave it together, make it all, like you said, make it all land.
Yeah.
Man, that's an undertaking. I don't know what director could with as many things as he had on his plate. I don't know who could have brought all that together. It's just a case of the screenwriting just being a little overambitious, a little unfocused, and it just weighs the movie down.
I just wish, as the sole screenwriter, he could have seen coming in as the director where he needed to kind of trim the fat and everything.
It's kind of a strange thing, where you would think maybe the director would say to the screenwriter,
in the editing room,
exactly.
Maybe they could have found, I don't know, they could have shaped it more to where it was more focused, I guess. Because as someone who obviously loves movies, loves going to the theater, loves having that experience, it should have moved me beyond definitely what it did, but should have had a real experience watching that. And I felt what he was trying to do, what he wanted to do, this point he wanted to reach with Coleman's character, and it just and even the Toby Jones bits where he's the projectionist.
That's the scene I'm talking about.
Oh, okay.
In the projection room where Toby Jones takes the young man in and shows him how everything works.
I thought you were talking about
it's shot so beautifully. And he's in there, and there's these scenes where you can just see him sort of looking through the little hole where and he's given these details, and the young man's eyes they're so wide, and Jones, who's always good, he just sits back there, and he's just like an old professional who's been doing this for years, but he's got so much pride in it, and it's just, that whole scene is beautiful.
Yeah.
And that's, where he's sort of getting into the, the love letter to cinema stuff. I mean, it really shows in that scene. It's beautiful.
And like the Toby Jones character is a good like kind of micro example of what this movie could have been, because you even get some scenes earlier where he's talking with Olivia Colman and you get a slight hint at his backstory and the regret that has filled his life and everything. And then, but you get why the movies have fulfilled, kind of taken place and fulfilled his life in a way, or filled the void that has occurred in his life. That felt like what Mendes was really going after, like really trying to capture this time in his life that he didn't know like he was going to cherish so much once he got older. And I thought you were talking about, it's in the trailers, so this isn't really like spoiling anything, but the scene where Olivia Colman sits and watches the movie and is kind of like just moved to tears and everything.
Sort of that first time experience where she
really lets it wash over her and everything. Yeah. And
that's a good scene.
And it was just like, and it was like, I like appreciated it because I understood what he was going for, but it didn't hit me like emotionally as much as I think he intended. Because
you've been pulled in so many other different directions.
Right, yeah.
For example, there's a scene where I don't really think it's a spoiler because I'm not going to go into detail on it, but there's a scene where there's this march of just skinhead, like white supremacists, just sort of show up. We see a couple of them. They're sort of the almost cartoonish in how they talk to him and sort of snarl at him. But then there's just this one scene that should have just really floored us.
Yeah.
And it definitely, it has a kick, but again, it's one of those cases, just like you were saying, that scene should have just been incredibly powerful. Yet it just seemed to come out of the blue, and it just seemed like that just is something that just sort of boiled up and festered just right there on the spot. And it's just one of the many frustrations I have. And a matter of fact, that's probably the biggest thing. It's just, I wanted to feel these moments that clearly Mendes feels and that clearly Mendes wants to convey. I mean, he has his heart is in this and he's really laying these things out.
Oh, yeah.
But man, I just couldn't feel it.
Yeah, because as good as Michael Ward and Olivia Colman are in this, and like as well as their kind of chemistry works together, that facet on Ward's character kind of having to deal with this racism, like it feels so shoehorned in there, especially it that does. Scene you're referring to. And it's just like he could have, there could have been some other element that he was dealing with that was, kind of maybe. Actually, there was, like, with his ex-girlfriend, him having to deal with going away to college and all this kind of stuff. There was enough there to, like, enforce how much of a home the theater becomes for him, how much of an escape it becomes.
That's right.
And it just doesn't go that route. It has to, like,
it almost... There's so many other things that ends up eating that screen time.
Yeah, well, it's almost like Mendes feels like he has to make it bigger. Like, it has to be bigger than that for his movie, like, or for a movie, or for an audience, for a wider, broader audience to get why he's so torn. It has to be a bigger thing, but it just ends up being too broad and trying to tackle too much.
And maybe it's just the sheer perception, like when he's looking back on this time and he's seeing all these different things, but this is his one movie about this. Yeah. And so, it may be something that's real near and dear to him, something he recalls, he remembers this, or someone that was... And so he feels like he has to put it all in there because this is his one sort of reflection on the things he remembers, the things that he recalls. Maybe that's it. That doesn't make it a good idea, though, and it doesn't make it good for the movie.
Yeah, because the thing that makes this kind of stand apart from Belfast, from presumably Fabelmans and Armageddon Time is, I don't really know who Mendes is in this story, or if he's in there at all. Like,
That's a good point.
I don't really know.
That's right.
There's no real I guess maybe that is one of the biggest things, is because there is no like solid point of view that that all these stories are being told from. But like we said, a lot of power players here. Roger Deakins, one of the all-time great cinematographers, shoots this, and if nothing else, like I felt the atmosphere of this thing
beautiful
is
cinematography.
Yeah.
At the very beginning, when we're introduced to the Coleman character, she comes in and she's opening up the theater.
Yeah, I love
and
it.
the way Deacon's camera sort of follows her around as she goes from one place to the other, opening this, turning on that, checking the candy.
Yeah.
She walks in front of the theater and looks around, makes her way up the aisle. And the way Deacon's camera just captures sort of the lush reds and the golden, the red ropes and the golden bars and. It's just beautiful.
When it started, and I was like, oh yes, because I mentioned like maybe a couple weeks ago now on how I just love to get like nestled into a movie and like atmosphere and setting and everything, and this was like the perfect movie for someone who goes to the movies all the time to do that. And there is the score, I mentioned, really good. I mean, maybe a little. A little predictable as far as like playing up those big dramatic moments and everything, but it's Trent Reznor and Atticus Ross. Like it's got some cool stuff to it. But yeah, I just like I wanted to like this movie so much. I wanted to love this movie so much, and I just kind of came out of it being like, because it has all those parts. But then I just came out of it and was kind of like, that's fine.
Yeah,
it was fine. It didn't. It's that emotional like. Everything's great about it, kind of, but the story, which is terrible. Right. But anyway,
it didn't. Yeah, I know what you mean.
You also know that at the end of every review, we kind of do an out of 5-star initial reaction rating. But we've had a little bit more time to think about this one. So, what would your official like star rating be for Empire of Light?
Well, before I get into that, let me just say I don't know if you recall.
Okay.
But when the first trailer came out, you made a really bold prediction. About this movie and me. Do you happen to recall what that was? I just want to ask.
It was purely based on his love for
we don't need explanations. I just want to know what that, if you can remember what
was like, Keith, here's your movie of the year.
Yeah.
Here's your movie of the year, buddy. You're going to love this one.
Okay, more specifically, I believe this is going to be your number one movie
did I go?
This is going to be at the top of your top 10 list.
I'm sorry.
And, no. I'm going to tell you, it 100% was a bold prediction. It also couldn't be more wrong. Unfortunately, it had, like I said, it had all these parts that I should have just fell in love with.
Yeah,
it should have just swept me away. But, it's just too much to overlook. There's just too much that just holds it back for me. So I won't repeat everything we talked about. But in terms of star, I'm right around a 2-star.
Really?
It just I could feel the length. I could feel a little frustration.
Yeah.
It just sort of took me in way too many directions, and it just didn't come around into the movie I was hoping it would be. And in the movie, in your defense, that the trailer sort of showed. I mean, it kind of gave me feelings that, okay, this might be, but unfortunately, no.
Well, I'm glad you brought that up because I had kind of forgotten about that.
I didn't. Because you kind of got my hopes up.
Because you know what? You know what that means, though? No, you're just not as predictable as I thought you were.
Good.
But you're really.
I can't be.
You're really not. We won't even get into the conversation about your reaction to a lot of the horror movies this year.
Gosh.
And the organization.
So
I'm on
you're not
deserted
predictable at all.
island. I'm just out by myself when it comes to that. So.
That's good though. You're an unpredictable, non-favorite. You don't show
goal.
Favorites to any genres or anything. No, I'm gonna actually go a little higher than you because I'm gonna go 3 out of 5 because it's just so well made. Like it's so well made, and it has so many things going for it. We've talked about so many of the scenes. We've talked about so many of the actors, and just there's some part of me, I guess, that hopes when I watch it again. If I watch it again, that's the thing too. There's not a lot of rewatchability factor there. That it might grow on me. It feels like one of those that like if I happen to play it like late at night. One evening in like 3 years, that maybe the magic might work a little more on me. But I don't know. It definitely didn't work as well as he intended at first. So I'm just going to kind of go a little bit higher than average, but 3 out of 5 for me because it is. I mean, you've still got Roger Deakins here. You've still got Sam Mendes. You've still got Olivia Colman in the lead.
And you still have those. Again, I'm sort of defending your score more than mine. But then again, you have those scenes like we talked about, like the intro, like in the projection room. And just like you said with Deakins, the way he just shoots this whole thing.
Yeah.
There's a lot of. I mean, I can see why you would.
Yeah. And we didn't really mention Colin Firth other than mentioning Colin Firth, but interesting, not your typical Colin Firth, and he's not in it a whole lot, but it was just one of those elements that kind of made it feel more
solid
Oscar
performance,
baity.
but he was just sort of, he was you kind of knew the character
Right.
when you first saw him.
Yeah,
There wasn't
yeah.
any real depth. There wasn't anything to learn about it.
He
It
kind of
was just
serves the plot as far
He
as this
serves
one
it,
scene
yeah.
that Olivia Colman
Little
gets to really
wormy.
chew scenery, and
Yes.
it's kind of a setup purely for that, which is fun. But anyway, I think that's it for Empire of Light. If you've enjoyed some of these reflective autobiographical director features, you might enjoy this one. If you enjoy the magic of the movies, you might enjoy this one too. But fair warning, we've told you there's a lot more going on with this one, and it's just not as focused as it should be. But yeah, anything else for you?
That's it.
All right. Well, if you haven't seen Keith on the show before, definitely check him out at keithandthemovies.com. Also writes now for the Arkansas Democrat Gazette, so look for his movie reviews in the paper every Friday. And but that's it. Thank you for doing this once again. I really
Absolutely.
appreciate
Let's
it. Yeah. Oh, we definitely will.
Good.
Thank you guys for watching. Thank you to the Movie Tavern for letting us see the movies here, shoot the show in their theater. If you haven't already, hit the subscribe button, hit the like button, notification bell, all that good stuff, because we upload a new review of the biggest release every week, so you hit that notification bell. You'll know when we do that. But like I said, that's it for this time. Hope you enjoyed it. Go to the movies, and maybe you'll have a better experience than we had at Empire of Light. I don't know. Peace.